So first thing I'm going to do is I'll build just a very simple trading system, right? So we have some signals to work with, and I'll build an exit system. So we have some exit signals to work with, just some simple stuff. And then we'll jump into the various things about Raven. And I'll cover some things about NinjaTrader and strategies and stuff, some good practices when you're using Raven, right? So, okay, interesting on the ES, we're getting close to this upper channel or upper trend line here, so hopefully we break through it. If we don't, just be cautious if you got, if you're in the market. So, all right. So I'm just going to build a simple crossover system, and I'll build a MACD kind of filter, so it's not taking every crossover, but it'll take a crossover that's in agreement with the MACD. We'll make sure that the MACD is on the correct side of the zero line, to take the crossover. All right. So first thing we'll do, open up BloodHound, and I'll name my system here. So just put today's workshop date in there. There we go. All right, and I'm going to start working on the logic tab in the logic board here. So we start a new one here, and this one will be our entries. And if you build multiple entry logics in your in your BloodHound file, then you can give kind of specific names. Would probably be a good idea. So this would just be a let's see, what is it? It's a 14 55 crossover with a MACD filter. Alright, first thing we'll do is we'll just drop a crossover solver on here to generate kind of what our core signals will be, the crossovers. Right, so this is an SMA 14 over an EMA 55, I believe. Yeah, an EMA 55 on the chart. Alright, so the SMA 14, well, that's kind of the default indicator that the solvers are set to, so I can leave indicator alone. That indicator A, I can leave that as it is. It's already set up. So typically when you're using the crossover solver, you're going to want the faster moving indicator in indicator A section, and typically you're going to want the slower moving average, or the slower moving plot, whatever you're using, in indicator B. So I'll set indicator B to our EMA 55. Like so. Okay, there's a couple of crossovers already on the chart, and hold on a sec while I change the green. I'm going to make it a little brighter. There. Alright, there you go. Now you should be able to see those long signals a little easier. Alright, now next part is I'm going to make this MACD filter here. So it's just going to be something simple. I just want to know if the MACD is above the zero line or below the zero line, as a permissive to take the trade. So I guess on this specific part on the chart, that we have a cross up and the MACD is above the zero line, so that long trade would be allowed. The short trade would be allowed because the MACD is below the zero line. and so forth. Let's see if we have any signals here that would get blocked. Let's see. So there's a long signal that would get blocked because the MACD is below the 0 line there. So looks like the MACD and my moving averages are all pretty well synced. Let's see. Here, what I'll do is I'll change the EMA, make this a little more interesting. I'll probably make it EMA 30. And alright, so I changed it on the chart, and I need to go in here, change it in BloodHound. So let's change that to an EMA 30. And I'll scroll through here and see if, okay, so there we go. So there's a long that would get blocked. Another long that would get blocked. Well, that MACD is moving pretty quickly, and it's syncing up with the. So I guess that really doesn't matter. I just need some interest signals just to demonstrate Raven here. All right. So we'll keep an eye on this long signal here. And so to make that MACD filter, I'm going to use the threshold solver. All right, so the threshold solver is typically used for indicators that run in their own subpanel, like the MACD, the CCI, or the stochastics, anything that kind of runs in a subpanel and has its own kind of scaling system, right? Its own scaling that's separate from the price panel here. That's typically what the threshold solver is used for. So that way you can identify when your indicator is at a certain value here. So I'm going to just determine when the MACD is above or below the 0 line. So I will switch the indicator over to the MACD and make sure that my indicator settings on the chart match what's in BloodHound. And I'm going to use the MACD line. And so my threshold level that I'm looking at is 0. So I'm looking to see if the MACD is above or below 0. So I want a long output when the MACD is above 0 or greater than 0, right? So greater than 0 is above 0. So I'll set an output, set a 1 for the output when the MACD is greater than A, and A is set to 0. So greater than A means the MACD is going to be above 0. And less than E, and E also equals 0. So remember, all of our thresholds equal 0. So when the MACD is less than E, I want to get a short output. So I'll set that to 1. And let's connect that up. There we go. Let me give this a name. Alright, so this is going to tell us if the MACD is above or below the 0 line. And right, as we look at this, we can see that we have a long output when the MACD is above 0. So when I take this solver here and join it to the crossover with a AND node, what that will do is it will only allow long trade signals through when the MACD is above 0, and when the MACD is below 0, it will only allow short trade signals through. So this MACD threshold solver becomes a kind of a trade permissive. Alright, so there is our original trade signals, right? The crossover signals. And if we keep an eye on this long here where the MACD is below the 0 line, as soon as I connect this solver, this threshold solver in to the AND node, there we go, filtered out 2 long signals there. Let's see, yeah, there's also this long signal here that got filtered out, like so. Alright, so anyways, there's our entries, and I'm going to make a simple exit logic as well. So let me make a new logic template here, and these will be my exit signals. All right, so I'm going to make 2 exit logics here. So whenever the MACD crosses the 0 line, against the trade, then that will exit the trade. And also I'm going to use a time session solver so that trades get closed out at the end of the day. Let's see. So I'm going to first build the MACD crossing over the 0 line to give us exit signals here. So we're going to use the crossover because we're looking for, let's see, we're looking for this, let me grab that little dot, we're looking for this specific crossover right here. Actually, let me get a diamond on there, and let's scale this out. Yeah, I'm not sure which bar the crossover actually occurs on. Maybe it occurs on this one. But when that MACD crosses over, we want to exit any kind of long positions. So if we are in a long position and the MACD crosses down, what we want to do is we want to generate a short signal. So a short signal will exit a long position. Using the crossover, I'm going to set indicator A to my MACD line. So let's put the MACD in here, and all those settings are good, and I'm using the MACD line. And for indicator B, we're looking, indicator B is going to be the 0 line, right? So we're looking for when the MACD is going to cross that 0 line. So I can set indicator B to a fixed value and it defaults to 0. And so there we go. We can see now whenever that MACD crosses that 0 line. Alright, so let's take a look at our entry signals. Right? So I changed my logic template over, so we're looking at the entry signals now. So let me mark this short, right? So this is our short entry right here, and we can see right here, right, we have the MACD crossing that 0 line. So if I take a look at the exits now, there we go, I have a long output here. So this long output will exit this short trade, right, that's on this bar here. So keep in mind, right, so I'm going to use these signals here as exit positions. So they won't reverse you, they won't put you into a new position, they're only going to exit you. All right. And so that's why I clearly named them as entry and exit. So that way when I go to implement this into Raven, I'll know which one of these logic templates is my entries, and I'll know which one to use as my exits within Raven. Alright, so now, actually let me name this properly. so that's just a simple MACD 0 line crossover. Alright, so the next thing is, I said I was going to use, I wanted to make sure that the positions are closed out by the end of, the trading day, by the end of the regular trading hour session here. So I'm going to grab a time session solver. Let's plug that in. And I'm going to squish the chart up a little bit so we can take a look. So you can see that basically the time session solver is always giving us an output here. And the reason why is because it defaulted to 24/7. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to build your own custom session template here. So which I'm not going to do. Now one thing to be aware of when you're using this session template is that this is NinjaTrader's session manager here that we brought up, right? So unfortunately, NinjaTrader hasn't provided a way to transfer your session templates from one computer to another computer. All right. So that's why I'm not going to build a custom one here, because it's not going to transfer over to anybody else's computer. And so when they open up this BloodHound file, basically the session manager is just going to get reset to the default here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use one of the standard ones built in from NinjaTrader, and I will just use the U.S. Global Futures regular trading hours. Right, so we can see it starts at let's see, that would be 9:30 p.m. Eastern time. Right, so this is, they've set this to Central Time, so that's going to convert to 9:30 Eastern Time and 4:15 Eastern Time. So we'll click OK, and now we can see that my session template has changed to the CME US Index regular trading hours, and there we go. So now I'm at 7:30, which in my time zone 7:30 is when the market opens. And over here at 2:15, well actually 2 o'clock is when the market closes, but the futures actually don't clear out until 2:15, 15 minutes after. So you should also, just a little note, you should talk to your broker. Most brokers want you out at 4 o'clock Eastern time. So really, realistically, I'd build my own custom session template, to make sure that I'm closed out at 2 o'clock my time. That way I don't run into the extended hours, right? So, talk to your broker to find out, when they actually want you to close your contracts out, so that way you don't go into the overnight margin requirements. All right, so there we go. So this, you can see here that the time session is actually marking when we're in session, right? When we're in the trading session. But I'm going to use this long and short output to actually exit to position, because remember, we're working in my exit template here. So whenever we get a signal here, so these signals are actually designed to be exit signals. So if I left this like this, all these long and shorts would constantly be exiting any position that gets opened. So what I want is in effect, I want to kind of reverse, or kind of swap. I want to swap the in session for the out of session, because that's when I want any open position, I want it to be closed out. When the session is over, when we're out of the session. So you can see we have outputs here. We have an in session and we have a not in session. So I'm going to set that to 0. I'll set that to 1, and there we go. Now we can see at 2:15 I have signals here, and so these signals at 2:15 or later will make sure that any open position is closed out. Now I want to use either one of these solvers to close my position out here. So since either one of those solvers is going to be used, I'm going to use the OR node, because either this solver can close my position or this solver can close my position. And you notice I use the keyword OR, so it's either this one or this one will close my position. So that means I want to use the OR node. And the OR node effectively joins these two solvers together. And so now, as I look through here, let's see. Oh, I'm on a 5-minute chart here. Let's let's make this a little more interesting. And how about we change it to a 5 range for oil? That way we'll get more trade signals throughout the day. All right, looks good. So let's kind of scan through here. Let's go to the beginning of the trade day. All right, so I know this is the beginning of the trade day because you're right, this output here is from the time session solver. So this is the overnight session, and then we go into the regular trading hours. And here's the first exit position. So this short signal, keep in mind, we're looking, if we look up here at the top of the chart, we're looking at the exit logic. Right? We're looking at the exit logic now. So this short output here would exit, or it would close a long position or a buy position. So if we did happen to get long in here, this would close that long out. So, and let's look at the entries here. So so there's our entries. Let's see, we probably, let's see, and interesting, kind of looks like we have a long crossover there, but it's kind of hard to tell. Let's take a look. Looks like that long crossover must have happened when the MACD was below 0, so we never got a long entry signal. But we can take a look here. So here's kind of, so if you see something like this when you're building a system and you're wondering, why didn't I get a long signal there? It looks like we got a crossover in here somewhere. And you're wondering why you didn't get along, it's most likely going to be because of this MACD filter I built here. So what I can do is, I went to my logic tab and we're looking at the entry signals. And what I can do is I can take this MACD solver and I can just disconnect it. And there we go. So that makes sense. So this long cross-up happened when the MACD was actually below the 0 line. So we didn't get that long signals there. So that's why. So that's how you can, figure out, why a signal did not occur. Right? So I could also take my crossover signals and just connect it up to the result node and see my original crossover signals there, like so. Okay. All right. Now, you'll notice, I have these signals that are in the, early morning hours before the market opens. And, to make sure that I don't go into overnight margin requirements, I would want a way to block these, prevent these trade signals from happening. Just in case, in case you leave your computer on overnight, you'd want to prevent these signals from happening. So the way we can do that is we can use another time session solver. So I can grab another time session solver and use it in my entries to make sure that I don't get any entry signals in the overnight or extended trading hours. All right, so I got another time session solver, and if we look here on my solver tab, you can see I've got two time session solvers, and they're named exactly the same. So this is not. I'd say that this is kind of a bad practice here, because I wouldn't really know which is which. Once I get them set up. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go to my exits, where I have this time session solver already set up. So what I'll simply do is I'll just rename it to my exit time session. There we go. I'll shorten the name. All right. So now I know this time session is used for my exits. And if I go to my entry logic here, I can take this one and I'll name it as my entry. Right, so there we go. So I'll say. So really, what this solver is doing is it's going to allow the entries like so. Now, if I go to my solver tab here, I can see now that both of my time sessions are named, and so that's going to tell me what they're both used for, and it helps eliminate kind of confusion. So especially if I go to my solver nodes and I look at the existing ones that I built here, right? So this list here is the same as what you see on the solver tab, right? So now, if I happen to build a second entry or a second exit, now I'll know which of these time sessions is for my exits and which one's used for the entries. All right. So the next step here is we want to set this up to allow trades to only take place during the in session, during the market regular market hours. So I'm just going to use the same session template. Let's see where, right there, the U.S. Index Futures, CME. All right, click OK. And let's take a look here. There we go. All right, so now, the default setting for your time session solvers, right, is in session. So with this time solver here, right, it's giving me outputs when the market is in, when the regular market hours are in session here. So now if I connect that into an AND node, it also acts like a filter, right? It acts like a trade permissive, just the same as this MACD threshold solver is acting as a trade permissive. So if I look back here, there we go. So there's some early morning signals here before the market's open, and now if I connect in this time session solver as a filter, right there, those are going to disappear now. So those trade signals disappear now, and they disappear because the time session solver has no output when it's in the early morning or the overnight session. All right, so let's take a look. I'll squish the chart up here. And here I'll throw a line on here so we can easily find when the market opens. Right there. There we go. So that's when the market opens, and we can see we have trade signals here, and I'll mark when the market is closed. And well, actually this is today, so the market hasn't closed yet today, and there's our trade signals. So let me scroll back to yesterday, and here we go. So the market closes right about there. Let's see, I'll give this a different color. There we go. A nice red letting us know the day ended. And let's scroll forward and mark when the market opens. Alright, right about there. Alright. And so we can see, before the market opens, there's no trade signals, right? No entry signals. And I'll just mark one more here when it's closed. Alright, so between the hours of when the market closed and when the market's open, you can see there's no trade signals there. Alright, now let's take a look at our exits. So, alright, so we can see, let's see, when is this? This is probably Wednesday, I think. I think this is Wednesday. And so, when our time session ends the day, we can see that we get all these long and short outputs. So we want long and short outputs because we won't know if we're in a long position or a short position. So having long and short outputs here, it'll close any open position, right? So the long output will close a short trade, and the short output, right, will close a long position. Okay, so we have a simple system set up. So now let's go and put this into Raven here. So I'm actually going to remove BloodHound first. So before I do that, let me close this out. Alright, so shutting that interface, closing the interface, saves the file, saves all that BloodHound template back to the file on the hard drive on your computer. And, okay, so to help eliminate confusion, I'm going to remove BloodHound off my chart. And now I will add Raven to the chart. So we'll go into the strategies. There's Raven. Add that on here. Alright, first, basically, what you want to do is just kind of work your way down in order. Work your way down in order, until you get to this general section, and then you can turn it on. So, right, first step is let's load our BloodHound template into here. So we can see this looks, this is the BloodHound interface here. So I can click on File, and I can see the most recent saved BloodHound file is right on top there. So there's today's date. I'll load that up. And as a good practice, what you want to do is take a look at your templates. You should take a look at your templates and just kind of verify that everything looks like it's connected correctly. Right? It's just good practice. So, because as you're, working in BloodHound and testing things, you might find that you accidentally leave it like this. And that's not the correct state for your actual trait signals. So it's a good idea just to look at each of your logic templates and make sure the leaders are set up correctly and everything. So we want to put this back here like that. And let's take a look at our exits. Alright, exits look good. All right, so one thing to note is when I have this interface open, whichever template I have selected, so if I click OK now, I have the exit templates selected. So if I click OK, what's going to happen is that when I start Raven, Raven is going to show me the exit signals on the chart, right? It's not going to trade the exit signals on the chart, but it will show me the exit signals on the chart because this is the last logic template that I had open before clicking OK. So if I want, if I want to see the entry signals on my chart, then I can just select the entry and then click OK. And then once BloodHound actually gets loaded onto the chart, it will show me the entry signals, in the sub panel down here, just like like what BloodHound does. Now, the actual trades will be controlled by whatever you set your entry logic to. So if I set my entry logic to entries, then Raven will only trade the signals that come from the entry logic template. And for the exits, I'm going to set the exits to my exit logic, right? So so only the exit logic will be used to exit your positions or close your positions out. Now, let's see, the use confidence compare, most people won't really use this, but this allows you to kind of tweak what defines a signal. So it's the same as what is used in BloodHound here. So actually, let me put BloodHound back on here so I can demonstrate what that is. So I'm just going to get this loaded up real quick. And once again, so I'm going to select my entry logic, so that's what gets shown on the chart. And there we go. All right, yeah. So you can see that BloodHound set the entry logic to my entries, since that's what I selected when I had opened the file up. All right. So my point here is to explain what those threshold settings are for. So you see the green line and the red line here. So right, the green line here is set at 0.8 and the red line is set at 0.8, and that is defined by this long threshold and this short threshold. So what this threshold is for, right, what this 0.8 is for, is that defines what is a signal. So BloodHound's output has to be greater than 0.8 in order for a long signal to be generated. In order for this output to actually become a trade signal, it needs to exceed that 0.8 threshold level. And then that's when the racing stripes shows up as well. So let me change that back to a little brighter green there. The reason why these thresholds exist is because you can build a fuzzy logic system here. And let's see. Yeah, let me, I'll give a simple example here. Alright, so I'm going to build a simple example looking at the slope of that red EMA that's on the chart. So this solver here, you know, I set it up to give us this kind of analog output here, right? So you can see that, you know, BloodHound can give you a partial output here, and you know, so even though, you know, we have this short output, this short output is not enough to actually be used as a trade signal. So actually, here's a better example right over here, these longs. So let's take a look at these long signals here. Right? So we can see, right, this long got pretty close. You know, it's 0.77, but it didn't reach our threshold of 0.8, so it wasn't considered a trade signal. It wasn't until, you know, this bar over here, where it looks like the output is about 0.82. So the output here on this bar, there we go. So the output was 0.825 right here. So that exceeded our, let me open up the indicator panel here, right? So this is Ninja's indicator panel. And our long, so whenever the output on the long side exceeds our long threshold of 0.8, that's when it gets considered as a trade signal. And that's kind of a part of the fuzzy logic component. You know, if you're not building a complex fuzzy logic system, then, you know, you can just use the default settings here. You know, you don't need to change around or play around with any of the threshold settings here. Just leave them as the defaults there. Right. So, you know, these long thresholds are exactly what's used in Raven as well. So the same thing with Raven. With Raven, you can set custom threshold levels that determine, you know, when this output actually becomes a trade signal. So, you know, I'll give you an example. Say if I set this down to 0.5, you know, take a look at where the long signals are right now. And if I hit apply, we can see a lot more of this output here now turned into trade signals because I lowered that threshold level down to 0.5. So now I get a lot more trade signals out of this logic here. So that's what that can do. So if I set this long to 0.99, hit apply, now I can see I don't have any trade signals because this output never got to 0.99 on the output. So, all right. So that's kind of what the long and short threshold levels do. So let's see. Let me close that out. Shrink that down. So let's go back into Raven. And oh, I didn't click OK. So let me set the logic template up again real quick. Okay, open that. I'm just going to take a look at my logic templates again. Okay, there we go. Select OK. All right, let me set my entry logic, and I'll set my exit logic. Okay, so there we go. So that's what those long and short threshold levels do. And there's also this, you know, a little more. You know, you can add a little more complexity to your fuzzy logic by using the confidence, by comparing the confidence outputs. So the confidence really is just kind of it's a term for let me gotta close that out again. So the confidence is a term that is used for this fuzzy logic output, right? So basically, the smaller the output, the less confidence. BloodHound is telling you that there's less confidence in your trade rules being met. So the higher that output goes, the stronger the confidence you have in that your logic is being met. In other words, your indicator conditions that are built into your logic is being met. Right? So the level of this output really kind of tells you the confidence of that your indicators are all in alignment for a trade signal. So so that's really what this BloodHound's fuzzy logic is doing, is it's giving you a confidence level, telling you, what percentage of your indicators are all in alignment or all in agreement to actually take a trade. Let's see, and let me go back into the Raven here, back into the strategy. All right, so the next one down is show racing stripes. So if you want, you can turn the racing stripes off for Raven if you'd like, or keep them on. All right, next, the entry order options. So you can specify a limit order. If you want to use the limit orders, you need to set this to true. And then you can see some additional options open up here. Now this first one here, allow re-entries on same bar. This only applies when calculate on bar close is set to false. Right, so this is a NinjaTrader setting here. This calculate on bar close is a NinjaTrader setting that gets applied to all indicators and to all strategies. Right, so what that does is when calculate on bar close is set to false, what that does is that will tell your indicator to update in real time on the bar that's open. Let's see here. I'm going to close this again, and let's go to the current bar here. Let's take a look at the current bar. So you can see that the bar that's building, right, my indicators don't plot to the bar that's building, and that's because that calculate on bar close is set to true for these indicators. So if I take this SMA and I change calculate on bar close from true, if I set it to false, it's going to start calculating on the bar that's building in real time. So now you can see the white line is extended onto the bar that's still building. That hasn't. So this bar here has not closed yet. So there, this bar is still open, and the indicator is being recalculated every time price changes on that bar. And so that calculate on bar close, right, it applies to every indicator, and it also applies to Raven. So right, so if you're running Raven with calculate on bar close equals false, then you can probably imagine that what can happen is that as your indicators are moving up and down in real time, that you can get multiple trade signals on the same bar. Because price can move up, which could then trigger a crossover, and then and enter a long position, and then price could move down and trigger a short crossover, and then, or actually price would move down and there wouldn't be any crossover, and let's say price moves down enough and it hits your stop, and then price moves back up and triggers another long crossover and puts you in a long position again, all on the same bar, right? Say for example that these were 30-minute bars, right? Obviously within 30 minutes price could move up and down a lot and fire off a lot of trade signals, and also come down and hit your stop, fire off another trade signal. So this option here So this allow re-entries on the same bar, this only applies, right, to when calculate on bar close is set to false, which means that you could get multiple trade signals on the same bar. So if I guess another example, say like this was a 15 range chart, right? Price could move up and down quite a lot, triggering off a lot of trade signals. So if you only want one entry signal per bar, right? When calculate on bar close is set to false, you can set this to true, and that way, well, I'm sorry, if you leave it to false, it's not going to allow re-entries. If I set this to true, that would allow multiple entries on the same bar. So false means you would only get one entry on that bar. So, but let's see. Okay, we're going to actually run this with COBC true. All right, so next parameter down is cancel after X bars, right? So if you submit a limit order out there and price just takes off and never actually picks up your limit order, you're not going to want to leave that limit order out there forever. All right, you're going to want to cancel it after a certain period of time, and the only real option we kind of have is cancel after so many bars. So the default setting is says that if you don't get picked up within 5 bars, then that limit order gets canceled and closed out. Okay, so now the limit offset. The limit offset from entry. So this limit offset, once again, the limit offset is also affected by calculate on bar close. So with calculate on bar close set to true, this limit offset, it's going to be offset from the close price of the closed bar. So I'm going to have to, let's see, let me close that again so I can illustrate here. Right. So when this bar closes, right, when the current bar here closes, that limit offset is going to be based off the closing price of this bar right here where the arrow is. It's going to be based off of that. So let me open up Raven again here. Now, if I set it to 0 ticks, that means it's going to set the limit order at the closing price of the bar where that arrowhead is. If I set a negative number, such as -2, what that's going to do is that's going to give me a better fill price. So, if let's say if price keeps moving down, if price moves down and we get a short entry signal, then -2 would put my limit order 2 ticks higher than the closed price because it's a short signal, a short entry signal. So -2 is going to put my limit order 2 ticks higher, so that price has to come back 2 ticks to actually fill me at a better short price. If I set this to a +2, then what that would do is that would actually throw the limit order down 2 ticks. And with this being oil, most likely it's probably going to throw the limit order into the bid price, and I probably would get filled immediately at whatever the best bid price would be. Right? So if here, let me gotta close this out again. So let's actually, how about if I actually go find some, there we go. So there's some actual long trade signals there. So let's take a look at the first one here. Come on. There we go. All right. So, right, so here's our long signal on this bar. So that limit order offset is based off of the close price of this bar right here. Now, if I used a positive value for the offset limit, it's going to throw my limit order up here, right? It's going to throw it up here it's going to throw the limit order up here, and effectively, that's going to be a worse fill price because it's actually up. It's higher, for a long position. If I used -2, it would submit my order, down 2 ticks for a better fill price. So let's open up Raven here. All right, so a positive value is, it's basically a positive value, it's going to throw you into the bid or ask and pretty much, guarantee you a fill price, much like a limit order would be. But it's going to throw you up, at a worse fill price. If I use a -2 ticks, then it's going to, for a long position, it will put my limit order at a better fill price, at down 2. And, the opposite is true for a short trade. So if this was a short signal, just imagine this was a short signal, not a long signal, then -2 would actually put my limit order up here where the red diamond is. So for a short entry, it would give me a better fill price up where the diamond is. So price would have to pull back and fill me and then go short in order for that short position, for that short trade there, for the short entry signal. All right. Okay, let me kind of pause right there before I move on to the next section here. Looks like I might have some questions on this. Let me just see if there are any. Okay, so Joseph has a good question here to kind of clarify, the difference between BloodHound and the difference between Raven. So BloodHound is an indicator, and you use BloodHound to build your trade signals. Right, so we can see, BloodHound is, I'll have to close this out again. Right, so we can see, this is BloodHound on the chart. So, BloodHound is what you use to actually build your trade logic, and ultimately your trade signals. So if I put it on the entry signals here. All right, so you use BloodHound to build your trading logic, and in NinjaTrader, in order to actually execute those signals, you have to use a strategy. So that's what Raven is for. So Raven, if I open up the strategies here, only strategies can trade, right? Indicators cannot actually trade. So Raven is the component that will take your BloodHound logic and actually trade it for you. So yeah, so let's see, that was yeah, so Joseph, that would be correct. All right, so Max, I'll address your time session questions once I get through demonstrating Raven. So okay, so I think that's all the questions I have on Raven there. All right, so let me I'll move forward. All right, so now the options section here. All right, so enter only when flat. What this does is this either prevents or allows Raven to reverse your position here. So if enter only when flat, if that's set to true, then that means Raven can only enter a position when Raven is flat, right? So it's not going to look at any of your manual trading that you may be doing using the DOM, right? Raven only knows its own trades. So if Raven is flat and this is set to true, then Raven would be allowed to enter a trade. But if so we see the short signal here. So if Raven was short and then you got this long signal, since you're already short, in a short position, Raven would not reverse to a long position if this was set to true, because Raven's not flat. So if this is turned off, then Raven would reverse these positions. So if you're short and then this long position comes along, Raven would reverse that short into a long position. So that's what this does, is it allows or prevents reversing your position. Backtest mode, basically this is kind of a convenience thing here. So when you actually enable your strategy, if you have like 30 days of data on your chart, sometimes it can take a while for all that data to get back tested before Raven actually gets actually turned on and everything. So we have this option here. So if you don't want to do any back testing, you're actually at the point where you want to just go ahead and trade live, or if you want to do some forward testing on live data and you want Raven to show up faster, then you can turn the back testing off, and then basically NinjaTrader won't be calculating all that back test data, and so the strategy will turn on much quicker. So that's really kind of what this is for. All right, show the chart trader. So Raven's interface here that will show up is the chart trader, right? So if I turn this off, and then I'll go in and I'll turn Raven on. If I hit apply, right? So we can see some back test results right here on the chart already, right? So Raven, is on, but the chart trader is not there. So that's what. So you can turn on or turn off that chart trader, right? One thing to note is that if you do have Raven's chart trader turned off, that doesn't mean that you can turn Ninja's chart trader on, right? You can see right here, hopefully you guys can see that the button here is grayed out. So when you have a strategy on the chart, that disables Ninja's chart trader. So Ninja does not allow you to have the chart trader and a strategy running on the same chart. It's one or the other. All right, so let me turn that off, and I'll turn the chart trader back on, and then turn the strategy back on. Hit apply. All right, so now we can see Raven's little chart trader there. And if you notice that when Raven was first turning on, all the buttons were flashing. So that button flashing is telling you that Raven is feeding all this trade. Raven is feeding these trade signals to NinjaTrader, and then NinjaTrader is calculating all the backtest results. So, yes, so just a little clarification. strategies don't calculate the backtest results. All the strategy does is, when you're doing backtesting, is the strategy says buy here, and or a strategy, in this example it says sell here and buy here, and NinjaTrader's back end actually calculates those backtest results. So NinjaTrader's back end actually determines what your entry price would be when you're backtesting, and what your profit and loss would be when you're doing backtesting. So a strategy just tells NinjaTrader when to buy, when to sell, and when to close the position out. So all right, let me turn Raven back off, and now we can go through the rest of these settings here. All right, so you can turn the chart trader on or off. Okay, so auto trades override manual trades. Let's see, actually I need to turn Raven back on here, so let's turn it back on, enable this. Okay, so the manual trades here, right, override. So we have auto trades override manual. So the manual refers to using the chart trader buttons here. So if you use Raven's buttons here to do any kind of manual trading, then this setting, the auto trades, if you want, you can have the auto trades, and the auto trades would be the signals, the BloodHound signals would be the auto trade signals. So so these entry signals, if you want, you can allow those entry signals to override your manual trades. So for example, if I clicked the go short button, and if I click the go short button, when this is set to false, if a long signal comes in, that long signal is going to be ignored because I'm in a manual trade. Right? If I set this to true, if I set auto trades override manual, if I set this to true, then if I went short, if I clicked the short button and this long signal came in, Raven would override my manual short trade, and it would reverse me into a long position. So in other words, these these entry signals are going to override any of my manual trades using these buttons. So same thing for the exits, right? Remember remember we built an exit logic. So if I clicked short and a short exit came in, that would close out that short trade that I manually entered. If when this is set to true, that's only when you allow this override and set it to true. All right, let's see. Let me turn this off. All right, so now the next section here. All right, so you can there's two different types of orders that you can submit here, or I should say, I'm sorry, two different types of profit and stop losses. So you can just put in a very simple profit target and stop loss when this is set to default. All right, so default uses this interface that you see here. The other option is, if you want, you can trade using an ATM. So I can put an ATM name in here, and you notice all those other options disappear because your defined ATM. So you have to have an ATM defined, and you just have to put the name in here. Right, just type your ATM name in here that you already have defined. All right. Another thing to note about NinjaTrader is NinjaTrader cannot backtest their ATM. All right, so you will not get any backtest results from your ATM. let me, yeah, let's see. So let me find an ATM that I have defined here. So I'm going to bring up my DOM. And, alright, so I have BloodHound, target 10, stop 6, quantity 7. Okay. Alright, so going back to Raven here. So I looked up my ATM name. So it's BloodHound with a target of 10 ticks, a stop of 6 ticks, and a quantity of 7 contracts. Alright, so I have that set. And look, you notice here also in options, you notice that how the backtest, remember there was a backtest true or false option here, that disappeared. And that disappeared because you can't actually backtest this. So if I set this to true and hit apply, we'll see there's no backtest results on my chart. Right? Now there's no backtest results on the chart anymore. So let's turn this off. And now, if I go back to default, set a quantity of 1, and now turn this back on, and my backtest mode, so backtest mode is now shows up again, and it's set to true. So now, with this turned on, if I hit apply, now we can see that backtesting results will show up now on my chart. Alright. Okay, so right, there's the two different ways that you can trade. So if you want to do some backtesting with your ATM, either you have to run it on live data, or you have to use NinjaTrader's market replay data. So let's see. I'll have to click OK. So in NinjaTrader, you have to go to Connect, and you have to use your market replay connection, and that's how you can backtest an ATM. So, all right. Let's see. If you're not familiar with what the market replay data is, just go take a look at NinjaTrader's help documentation, and it'll explain what that is and everything. All right. Let's go back into the strategy. Alright, so let's take a look at what the default settings are. So quantity, that's pretty simple. For futures, it's pretty straightforward. You just use, however many quantities, contracts you want to execute. Same for stocks. However, if you're backtesting currencies, NinjaTrader has a different kind of method for backtesting currencies, right? And the reason why is because currencies come in 3 standard levels of I'll think of the word here in a minute. But with currencies, you can trade, different lot sizes, right? So you have different exposure. So when you're backtesting currencies, you actually have to put the lot size in here, not the quantity of contracts. So if you're doing currencies and you're wanting to trade the smaller lot size, which is a 10,000 to 1 lot size, then you would put 10,000 in there, and that will actually trade one currency, one Forex contract. Leverage, sorry. The leverage is the word I'm looking for. So if you're using a 10,000 to 1 leverage on your Forex account, then you would put 10,000 in there for one contract. All right. If you're trading the, let's see, if you're trading the 1 million to 1 leverage, then you would put 1 million in there for one contract. All right. So if you want to trade 3 contracts on currencies with that 1 million to 1 leverage, then you would have to put 3 million in there, and that's 3 contracts using the 1,000,000 to 1 leverage. Or you can put 30,000, and that would be 3 contracts using the 10,000 to 1 leverage. Right, so that's how NinjaTrader. That's what NinjaTrader requires when you're backtesting currencies here. So we'll just leave this at 1. All right, the next you have a measurement unit, right? So when you set a profit and a stop loss, so let's say we set, you know, a 20 tick or a 20 profit and a 10 stop loss, you know, 20, what is that measurement? Is that points, ticks, you know, or what? So you have this option, this measurement unit. So, you know, most people are going to probably set their targets and stop loss in ticks, but if you want, you can set it in ATRs, right? So you can use, right, so an ATR, right, is going to vary your profit and target, you know, based on what the ATR of your chart is. You know, since I'm using a 5 range, the ATR never changes because every bar is 5 ticks, 5 ticks in length. So ATR isn't practical when you're trading a range chart. But if I'm trading a 1-minute chart, then I can use an ATR to adjust my profit target and adjust my stop loss based on the volatility. You know, so if we go into another, you know, extreme volatile market, then if I used an ATR, what it would do is it would adjust my profit target and make it, it would give me a bigger profit target, and it would also give me a wider stop loss. It would adjust the stop loss based on volatility as well. So, and of course you have percentage. You know, percentage, that's definitely a little trickier to figure out, but you know, the percentage is going to be based off of whatever the instrument price is. All right, so this is being oil. So if I entered here at 51.61, you know, and I wanted a 20% profit target and a 10% stop loss, you know, that's going to be pretty massive. So, you know, 20% at $51, that's going to be about $11. That would be $11 profit target, and my stop loss would be a $5.10 stop loss. You know, so you know, when you're doing percentage, you know, just set that correctly there. So also, you know, keep in mind that recently with the last update, I actually went through and revamped all these explanations here. So you know, if we you know, click, since we have profit target selected, right, we can take a look at the help here, and you know, that'll kind of give us some guidance. So if we click on measurement unit, you know, we really can't put a large explanation, you know, in these boxes. There's not a lot of room, so there's not a full explanation of what, you know, the measurement units and how the percentage would work. But also, you know, always keep in mind that what you can do is, if you know, if you go to the Shark Indicator website here, and if we go to support and down to Learn BloodHound, on the right hand menu here, if we scroll down to the bottom, you'll see under fully automated trading there's Raven here. So if we click on Raven, you'll see that there's a pretty big content list here. Let's see, so if we go to trade management, right, so right here, right, so the measurement unit is inside section 4 under trade management. So if I go to the content here, we can find trade management. I can click on that. It'll take me down to trade management. And you can see we have either the default option or the ATM option under trade management. So I can click on ATM and it'll give me information about your ATM. There's also some notes about from NinjaTrader as to what you can and can't do with an ATM. But let's go back to default, and if we scroll down, right, here's the section for measurement units, and it will give an explanation what those are. So all right, so really simply put, percentage is just a simple percentage profit target based on what your entry price is. All right, so profit target, let's see, let me set that back to ticks. All right, profit target, pretty simple, right? That's just going to set a 20 tick profit target. Same with stop loss, just going to set, this would just set a fixed 10 tick stop loss. Trail the stop. Now what this will do is this will take your 10 tick offset and it'll start trailing it, right? So if I set that to true, then okay, so let's see here. Yeah, I will have to close this out so I can work on the chart. Okay, so there, so if we used a limit order, that's going to be our entry price, and I'll use this as my stop. 49. Okay, so there, that would be my stop, and my profit target would be up here. So that's where my profit target would be. All right, so if I had trail the stop turned on, then what would happen is, let me grab that arrow, there we go. So when this bar closed up, all right, it closed at $51.54. So my stop would be 10 ticks below that price. So 54.44, right? So my stop is simply just going to move up with a 10 tick offset from the closing price of the bar. So on the next bar here, it closed at 58 cents, and so my stop would move up to 48 cents. All right, so it's just a very simple 10 tick offset trailing stop. And the stop will work in real time, or the stop will wait for the bar to close, depending on calculating on bar close. So once again, calculating on bar close will affect how often your stop loss gets trailed, right? So with this calculating on bar close, with it set to true, that means NinjaTrader is only going to run Raven when the bar closes. So that means that the stop losses can only get trailed when the bar closes. Right? So if I set this to false, which then means Raven will be constantly updating every time price moves, then if Raven is updating every time price moves, then Raven would be able to update your stop loss as well in real time, and it would be able to adjust your stop loss in real time as well. So all right, next section here, signals. So the play alerts, so if you want, you can play your own custom sounds when when you get various entry signals or exit signals. However, keep in mind that NinjaTrader's built-in sounds, that it says, order pending, order filled, and that little cha-ching sound when your stop loss moves up, and when your profit target gets hit. So those sounds have priority. So those sounds will override anything you set here. So in order to really use the play sound alert, that means you have to turn off all the NinjaTrader sounds in order for these to ever really be heard. So since Ninja's default sounds will override these every single time. So alright, so general. So everything below here, this is all these are all NinjaTrader settings, right? So all these settings will be found in NinjaTrader's help guide. So, but I'll cover a couple of them. So the account, obviously if you're just sim trading, you're going to use your Sim 101 account. If you're ready to actually trade live with Raven, then you can set this to your live account, and then Raven will execute the order on your live account if that's what you have selected, or it'll trade based on your sim account. All right, calculating bar close. I think I covered that enough. So I don't think I need to cover that again. But just the short version is that when this is set to false, then Raven will update itself on every time price moves, on every incoming tick. When this is set to true, that means Raven will only gets updated when the bar closes. So, and I'd say that this is typically how most people want to trade, is with this set to true. Typically you want to wait for the bar to close before you actually decide, whether to get into the trade or not. So, and of course enable, right? So after you have everything set up and ready to go, enable is going to be the last thing that you're going to do. So you'll turn that on to enable it. Let's see. Yeah, here's something else to note: the maximum look back. It's a bummer that we can't get this to default to infinite, but when this is set to 256, what that means is that you'll only see the trade signals on the chart going back 256 bars. So if you have 30 days of data on your chart, then if you want to look back more than 256 bars, in other words, if you want to look back into yesterday or a couple days ago, then you need to set this to infinite. And what that does is that allows Raven to actually update all the bars on the chart. So when this is set to 256, what that does is NinjaTrader restricts Raven and your indicator. This is also a setting that's in all the indicators. So this setting restricts the indicator or your strategy from showing more than 256 historical bars, back on the chart. So if you're using Raven to kind of do some backtesting analysis and stuff, you're going to want to set this to infinite, so that way you can actually see the trade signals, backwards on the chart. If you're just forward testing on live data, then I guess this really doesn't matter to you. So let's see. Here's another thing that kind of throws a lot of people, right? So if you're not learning what all these settings do, just keep in mind that these settings do affect your strategy. So you should take a look at NinjaTrader's documentation on what these do. But exit on close, this NinjaTrader defaults this to true. So what that means is that when when your chart session template, so exit on close, so I'm going to have to clear this out so I can work on the chart here. Oh, I turned that on. All right, so if I go into the data series here, you'll notice that you have to select a session template. So your session template defines when the market closes and when the market opens. And so depending on when your session template defines the market as closed, well, what NinjaTrader uses that session template. Let me turn this off. NinjaTrader uses that session template to determine when the trading session closes or ends, and NinjaTrader will flatten your position out when that session template says that the day is over. So exit on close. What that means, if with this set to true, is NinjaTrader will look at the session template. It'll see when the day closes, and it'll flatten your strategy. Right? It'll close out any open positions based on the session template when the session template closes or ends. So, all right. So if you don't want Ninja to, so if you want to trade overnight into extended trading hours, if you want this to be kind of a 24/7, or 24/5, I should say, trading system, if you want it to trade overnight, then you want to turn this off, and that way NinjaTrader will not close your position out at the end of the day. So, and of course, you can tell it to, let's see. Yeah, so this is going to be 30 seconds prior to the session close. So you can tell NinjaTrader, close me out 30 seconds before the day actually ends. So, all right. Let's see. Time and force. Another thing to note: only certain markets allow GTC. There are some markets, some instruments that only allow day. So, let's see. I think you can probably talk to your broker or talk to NinjaTrader to find out which markets only allow day. So there's some instruments that only allow time and force to be set to day. In other words, you can't leave an entry, you can't leave a limit order open overnight. It's only good for the day. So I know some people, all right, this is defaulted, good till cancel, and on some of the instruments, when people backtest, they notice that this actually gets converted to day, and they don't want that, and well, that's really forced by the exchange. So, and NinjaTrader keeps track of which instruments require day and which ones allow good till canceled. So, all right, let's see. So that's kind of all the settings. So let's kind of, I guess, run through some scenarios here. So I will turn this on, and let's see, I'll just use a 20 and 10, and let's see, I'll use a -1 tick with my limit order, so that way hopefully we get a lot more limit entries. And yeah, all right, I'll just turn it on, and we'll take a look at the chart and kind of look at some of those backtest results here. All right, let's see. First thing we'll note is that I have BloodHound on the chart, and we have Raven on the chart now. And Also up on the top of the chart, you'll notice the black button, the black text, that's BloodHound. The orange text, that is Raven, right? So it's orange because Raven's interface used to be orange. So we changed it to this nicer blue. But, you know, we left the button orange because orange is easily distinguishable from the black. So we left it orange. So what I wanted to point out here is what, you know, the pull down menu will do here. So first let me point out that in Raven, right, the way I have Raven, right, I have Raven set to my entry logic. Okay, so changing this pull down menu is not going to change Raven. It's not going to affect, you know, which logic template Raven trades. Raven is locked to only trade this entry logic template, right? So this pull down menu, really all it's going to do is, you know, it's just going to affect, you know, what signals I see on the chart. So there, I expanded, actually, let's move BloodHound down to the bottom. There we go. Okay. So what we see here is Raven. So you can see that I can change the signals that I see on the chart. But that's not going to change what Raven trades, right? This is not going to affect Raven's entry signals, right? It's only going to change the visual display on the chart, right? I can even look at this, you know, new logic that I set up as an example. So Raven's not going to trade this. It's only what we see on the chart, all right? So right, and that's all because my entry logic is locked onto this one. Now here's a kind of a powerful option that you can use here. So let me turn the strategy off. Now my entry logic, if I set this to none, right, so we have no entry. Now I do have to keep my exit logic set here. So what I'm about to teach you about the entry logic doesn't apply to the exit logic, right? The exit logic is going to stay locked to whatever, you know, whatever logic template I select. But my entries, I can change my entry logic on the fly, right? So if I set this to none, and I'll turn this back on, now, by changing this pull down menu, I can now change, you know, on the fly what signals Raven will trade, will execute, right? So if I didn't want Raven to execute this entry, if I wanted it to execute this other, you know, this other one here, I can set it to that, and now Raven will trade those signals. And let me move that back up there. So let me just kind of go through this again, because this is critical to understand. So remember, Raven, I have my entry signals set to none. So what that means is that Raven is going to trade whatever I have selected here. So if I accidentally select my exits, Raven is actually going to trade my exits as entry signals. All right. So so what that does is that allows you to, you know, build multiple entry templates, and you can switch back and forth what entry templates, you know, what entry signals you want Raven to trade on the fly. You know, so what that could do is, let's see, yeah, let me give you another little practical example of using that feature. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn Raven off, So here's another little tip here, another good practice. If you're actually, when you're running strategies, a good clean way to make sure that all your strategies shut down properly is go to File and hit the flatten everything. So this flatten everything, does what it should do, right? So I can see that all of my positions have been closed out, right? Even all the back testing positions on the Sim 101 account, they've all been flattened. And also you'll notice that Raven got turned off. So it's kind of a one-click option to shut all your strategies down nice and cleanly to make sure that you don't have positions left open. So let's see, and then if we go to the strategy tab, we can see Raven is still there, but it's disabled here. All right. So anyways, so let me kind of get back to showing you some practical examples of using this pull-down menu for Raven here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back into BloodHound. Right. So if you're going to make changes to your BloodHound logic, you should remove Raven if it's using the same file. Right. If Raven is using the same BloodHound template, you should remove Raven off the chart and only work with BloodHound. So it's not good to have the same file open twice, in multiple places. Or at least it's not good to make changes to your BloodHound file if it's open in multiple places. All right, so what I'm going to do to show you kind of a practical example of using that Raven feature is, right, I have my entry here, and I'm going to make a copy of it, and I'm going to change the name. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a long-only logic template. So this logic template will be restricted to taking long trades only. And let's see, I'm going to use, I'll use the inverter. There's actually a couple of ways I can do this, but I'm going to use the inverter here. And let me find, okay, there we go. Okay, so first thing I need to do is I'm going to turn the invert off. Turn that off. Turn that invert off. All right, so there's my original trade signals, right? So now, if I want this to be a long only, see on the short side here, I can turn the enable off, so I can disable it. So there, now that short signal disappeared on me, and the only thing that gets through are long signals. All right, so all we see on the chart are long signals now. And I simply use the inverter, and I just disabled the long side. So now long outputs can't get through, will not get through the inverter here. Okay, so there we go. I made a long only. So now I will copy that and make a short only. Alright, so now I just need to take the inverter and turn off the long side and turn the short side back on. And there we go. So now we only have short signals coming through here. Let's see, do we have any more? There we go. There's another short signal. Alright, so just to recap, right, I have an entry here that has both signals, and then I have an entry that's long only and an entry that's short only. Okay, so what I'm going to do is close BloodHound, and that will save these modifications back to the file. All right, and let's see, let me take BloodHound off the chart, and let's go back into our strategy. So there's Raven, and so right, if you'll notice, those new entry templates don't show up here, right? So that's why it's kind of dangerous to be having the same file open in multiple places, because Raven is holding on to, you know, its own memory of this file when it first loaded it, right? So there's no way to get, you know, all the Ravens and all the other BloodHounds that may have the same file open. There's no way to get them to update automatically. So what I'll have to do is go into the template here, and I can just simply reload the file. So I had to reload the file, and all right, so there's my entry with both trade directions, and there is my entry long only, and there is my entry short only. All right, so there we go, that's enabled, and that short size disabled. All right, I'll take a look at the other one. All right, that looks good. All the leaders look connected correctly. I will just set it back to the entries for both. All right, click OK. All right, so now, once again, I'm going to leave this on none. So that will allow me to change my entry logic on the fly. And let's turn this, set this to true. We'll turn it back on. Click OK. You see the buttons are flickering. That's doing the back testing. All right, so now, so it did some back testing using the entry of, you know, both signals. However, let's see. Looks like let's see. Yeah, it looks like we actually might get a long signal here. Yeah, when this bar closes, I think we're going to get a long signal. But, alright, so what I can do now is I can say, you know, market, you know, the market's been going up all day for oil, so I really want to only take long trades. You know, I don't want to risk taking short trades. So I can select this entry long logic template, and you know, now it's only going to show me long entry signals. And so Raven, you know, will trade this entry long only template, and therefore it won't take any short trades. And of course, if I want Raven to only take short trades, I can just put it on my short logic there. So all right, let me just put it on both. And see, let me get Raven to fire off that ATM here. You'll notice that Raven's going to remember your settings that you put in here. Since I actually didn't remove it off my chart yet, and oh shoot, I think I missed it. Oh, that bar actually closed on me. Darn. And oh darn it, I missed it. I missed that long signal by 1 bar, or 2, yeah, by 2 bars. Darn. All right. Well, since I missed it, I'm going to take the ATMs back off here. All right, we'll put it back to default. Now we can actually see some get some backtest results here. All right, let's turn that back on, Hit OK. All right, so we have some, backtest results, and let's see. Oh, okay, right. So I was wondering why some of these trade signals didn't actually have executions, and the reason why is because, remember, I'm using a limit order and I'm setting the limit price at a 1 tick better fill, right, a negative 1 tick. So what that means is, let's take a look at this trade right here. Right, so that was the bar close, and this is actually where the limit order was set. So the limit order was set 1 tick below that bar close, so price actually had to pull back, in order to fill that limit order. And let's see. Yeah, so let's take a look at this short trade here. So let me slide this forward. So I want to place a little square. Yeah, so right there, that square is a little too big. I guess I'll just use an arrow here. So the limit order was placed right up here at 54 cents, right? So the bar closed at 53 cents, and since we want a 1 tick better fill, that short limit was set at 54 cents. Now price didn't actually penetrate through it to fill it. So NinjaTrader didn't consider this as getting filled because price only touched it. So there was no guarantee that that would have got filled. So NinjaTrader's backtesting engine didn't consider it to get filled, right? In order for a order to get filled, price has to penetrate through whatever the price is, whatever the your order price is. Price has to penetrate through it before NinjaTrader will consider it to get filled. So that's why there was no trade here, because price didn't punch through it to actually fill that short limit order, right? And let's take a look at, there was another one over here. Here we go. Yeah. So once again, there is, that's the closing price of the bar. But the order, the limit order, was actually placed, let's see, yeah, it was actually placed about there. And we can see that price never even came down to touch that limit order, so no order would actually got filled on the back testing there. All right, so another thing you can do on the chart when you've got some backtest results, NinjaTrader has this strategy performance, and we can see it's for Raven, and we can look at the historical results, and we can take a look, at what the historical backtesting results are. So obviously this crossover, never want to trade a crossover system. So all right, so there's the results, right? So it took 82 trades, and we can see it 5 days. So I only have 5 days of data on the chart here. It took 82 trades, right? NinjaTrader puts together all this performance information so that you can sift through it and analyze it and whatnot. Let's see, what else can I cover? Let's see. Oh look, look at that. We actually got an order. Yeah, cool. We actually got a trade going there. Let's see, some other things we can do. I was going to put a second instance of Raven on there. Yeah, I'll go ahead and do that. So, alright. So, since I have a position open here, you know, I don't want to go in and, if I went in and added another Raven, right, that's going to reset my chart. It's going to refresh the chart. And if that happens, actually, yeah, that's a good example. Let me show you exactly what would happen if I did that. So let me have this second instance of Raven. I'll put it on this chart, and I'm going to load up today's template. Same thing. And you know, I don't really have any other entry examples, but so I'll just use the short. I'll just use this short only as an example here. You know, but you know, within BloodHound, you know, I could build multiple entry logics. You know, so you know, this one's a simple crossover. I don't know. I could build an entry signal, I don't know, based off of the MACD or based off the stochastics, right? And it takes a trade when the stochastics, you know, crosses some kind of value. So I could have two different, you know, trade systems in here, right? And so I could have Raven trade both of those in two different instances of Raven. So let's see. Actually, yeah, here. I'll build it real quick. I'm going to build another kind of trading system real quick here. I'm just going to build it real quick and not really give much of an explanation, because really I kind of want to stay focused on, you know, various things that you can do with Raven. Alright, so just give me a moment while I put this together real quick. Alright, so what I'm doing is I'm just making what I've heard termed as a stochastics double crossover system. I guess this is kind of a starter system that somebody out there is teaching people. And alright, so we got a double crossover system there. Okay, so, and, oh wow, those positions closed out already. Man, alright, well, let's see. Alright, so this is disabled. Alright, so I'll click OK. So I'm gonna, let's see, I'm gonna just manually enter a long position here to kind of show you what would happen if you refreshed your chart, with a strategy running. So let me open up the strategy window again. Alright, so you can see I have 2 ravens on here. So only the top raven is actually running on the chart. So we can see there's only one interface on here. The second one, it's on there, but it's not turned on. And let's see. Yeah, I'll leave that to none. I'll leave my exits as none. And let's see. Let me just set a simple profit and target. So these will be market orders. So I'm gonna leave the limit orders off. I'll leave that turned off. So it'll just submit market orders. Keep in mind what it's going to be trading this entry double crossover system, because this is the logic template that I have selected. It's the one that I have selected when I clicked OK. So this raven on the bottom is going to start trading that system. Even though I don't have my entry logic set, even though it's left on none, it's going to start trading that last looked at. So if I set my entry logic, if I set it to the other system here, then that's going to force Raven to trade this entry 1455 crossover. But if I leave it to none, it's going to trade the template that I last had open. And look at that, I closed my position out again already. Alright, let me just click OK. Alright, I need to get another live trade going there. Okay, there we go. Alright. And let me move that stop out of the way. There we go. So now those positions will be hopefully won't get touched here. Alright, so back into the strategy window. And alright, so now let's turn this on and click OK. Alright, and so you can see those orders don't show up anymore. And let's take a look at the control panel, and if you look in NinjaTrader's control center, that short position is still open, but what happened was, because the chart got refreshed, which refreshed the strategy, NinjaTrader lost connection between this order and the strategy, right? That connection got lost. So that's something to be aware of whenever you're having to refresh the chart. If you do anything, if you go in and you change an indicator, add an indicator, anything that causes the chart to refresh, you're going to lose connection from the position to Raven. So those positions will get lost. So just keep in mind of that. So before you do anything that's going to refresh your chart, you should go in here and so here's kind of what I do. There's two things I can do. The first thing is, as I showed you earlier, you can just hit flatten everything, right? And that basically flattens all of your strategies and turns all your strategies off nice and clean. Or what you can do is, if you want a little more specific control, you can disable Raven, close the trade, and so right now with this auto disabled, Raven won't enter into another position, and then I could go in here and fiddle with my indicator or whatever I'm going to do that's going to cause the chart to refresh. Right, so there we go. Alright, so let's kind of turn these back on, right? So we can see on the chart now, I've got the same file open in two different instances of Raven. However, Raven is trading two different entry signals, and I can see those down here on the chart. Right, so let's see, let me stretch this up. Right, so this Raven on the top, it's trading the entry 1455 crossover. So these are the crossover system here, the 14 and 55 moving average crossover system. And if I take a look down here, this Raven is trading the stochastic double crossover system, and I can see those signals down here. Right. So yeah, so NinjaTrader does allow you to have multiple strategies running at the same time, and they will not interfere with each other. So let's just say Raven number 1 doesn't know what Raven number 2 is doing, and Raven number 2 does not know what Raven number 1 is doing. They're all kept separate from each other. So exit logic and entry logics cannot interfere with each other. Each instance of Raven is kind of running in its own little memory space, so to speak. And so if we pull up the control panel, we can see on the positions tab, we can see the positions are open, but unfortunately we don't know which Raven fired those off. What we could do is, let's see, where is it? See, I think somewhere, either in the order tab or the execution tab, it'll tell you the name. All right, yeah, looks like it's only telling you the name of the BloodHound file. It doesn't actually tell you the entry logic name. Yeah, so when you use the same file for two different trade signals, there's not really a way to distinguish between the two when you look at all these trades here. So I can see, when I did use the chart trader buttons to place a manual entry, I can see those here, right? Let's see. Let me take a look at the execution tab again here. Oh wait, this does have a name. Let's see. Yeah, this name is just the BloodHound template name. It's not the actual logic template name, right? So just to clarify again, the button shows you the BloodHound file name, and the pull down menu shows you the logic template file names. Yeah. So yeah. So in here, there's really no way to know which which of these is coming from which Raven, but that's not really critical. Just something to note, because you can see here that Raven's interface, tells you which Raven has a trade going on, right? And actually, both of them are flat right now. Yeah, both of them are flat. So it looks like the 1455 crossover hasn't had a trade signal in quite a while since we let these run live. So, but we can see that the double stochastic crossover has made a trade or two, and it's down $90. So, all right. So let's say, let's say I wanted to put the stochastics on here, so I can actually see the stochastics indicator, that's firing off the stochastic double crossover system that I just built real quick, right? So if I wanted to add an indicator to the chart, there's a trade on, So if I wanted to change my chart, right, really, the best thing I should do is I should close everything out. If I don't, yeah, I guess the best practice is you should turn that off, and close everything out. So if I don't, if I go in here, and if I add an indicator, let's add my stochastics. So I'm just going to set my stochastics indicator up. Alright, as soon as I click OK, it's going to refresh the chart. And I'm surprised to actually see those trades there. Let's see what happened. Well, that's surprising. I have not seen that. Typically what would happen is you're going to lose you're going to lose connection from the order to the strategy. I'm not sure why the strategy, I can see that this is a green 1. So this Raven still is still actually connected to the trade that it took. So let me mark that here. Right. So I can see Raven actually took a trade on this bar here, and it's still connected with it. That's surprising me. Seems like NinjaTrader surprises me every other day. But the point I was trying to make is that if you do add an indicator to your chart or anything that causes your chart to refresh, you're typically going to lose that connection between your strategy and the order that's on the chart. All right, so just be aware of that. So let's see, what else can I show? Let's see. Yeah, there really, I guess just to kind of expand upon this, there's really no limit to how many Ravens you can have running on the same chart. It really kind of comes down to your computer's processing ability, for NinjaTrader in order to keep up with everything. And same thing goes. I could have multiple charts open, each having Raven running on all different charts and different instruments, right? So I could, let's see here. Yeah, I could put this on, let's see, I'll put it on something that moves a lot here. I'll put it on the YM. So the Dow moves a lot. And let me clear what's on the chart there. All right. So I'm going to load up today's template again. And I'll set it to trade the stochastic. So I'll leave my entry logic to none so I can change that on the fly. What the heck, I'll set an exit on here, and I'll just set a very simple stop and profit target and turn this guy on. And here we go. How about if I demonstrate the auto trades override manual? So I'll set that to true. All right, there we go. So I'll go short there. And let's see, oh, this is on a 2-minute chart. All right, let me, I'll change this to a faster chart here. So I'll put this on a 4-range chart.
Order canceled. Order pending.
All right. So let's see. Let's get that guy out of the way. There we go. Let's take a look at the control center here. All right. Yeah. Okay. This time, that trade that was open in Raven previously. Let's see. Yeah, I think it got left open now. Yes, it was left open. Because if you look at the YM, I have a quantity of 2. So there's 2 contracts on the YM that's left open. So what happened was that Raven, when I changed my chart to a 4 range, right? Raven, the order that was opened by Raven got disassociated with Raven, and then Raven just went and took another trade, you know, as soon as the chart finished updating. So basically this position here got kind of lost. Let's see. I can look at the order tab, and let's see, where's the time? Yeah, all right, so I can see let's see, there's the all right, so that's the profit and stop loss orders, and yeah, all right, so here's what happened. So here's my market order, my entry. All right. So here's the entry. All right, so it was a sell short, and I got filled. And then what happened was when I changed the chart to a 4 range, my profit target and my stop loss got canceled. So basically I have a short position open, just floating out there with no way to get closed out, right? And that's because Raven got disconnected from this order. So that's kind of the the dangers of making sure that you've got your Raven, your strategy turned off before you kind of make any changes to the chart. And so I can see I've got these 2 positions open now. So instead of just 1 position open, I've got another one open out there, and I can't really see it. I can't see where it's at. At least I can't see it on the chart. If you bring up the DOM, you can probably see it. So the only way, the way I have to correct this, the one way that I know of, is I can right-click on this and just click Close Position. Right, and you can see what happens is that killed Raven, because if you're manually closing positions, that were executed from a strategy, NinjaTrader takes the kind of errors on the side of caution. And so if you manually close a position by a strategy, it's a good, I think NinjaTrader took the good practice in thinking that, why would someone need to manually close their position from a strategy, right? Strategies are designed to auto trade. So if you're manually closing a position, then most likely there's something went wrong, and so it would be a best practice to shut that strategy off, because most likely something went wrong. So that's what happened, is NinjaTrader shut down Raven because I manually closed those positions. So what I'll have to do is turn that strategy back on. There we go. I can turn that strategy back on.
Order pending.
And there we go. Nope, we're trading again.
Order pending.
All right. So, anyways, the whole point of this is just to kind of show you, you can have multiple charts open on different instruments and multiple versions, instances of Raven running all at the same time. It really all kind of comes down to, how powerful your computer is in keeping up, with the strategy and whatnot. So, all right. Let's see. Just to reiterate again, this Raven on this chart, once again, I have my entry logic set to none. Right, it's set to none, so I can go down here and I can tell Raven, you know what? Let's trade the other system. I want you to trade my 1455 crossover, entry signals right there, and Raven will start trading those signals as they come in. If I make a mistake, I can accidentally tell Raven to trade my exit signals. I can say, hey, if I set this my exits, Raven is going to trade those exit signals, and it's going to trade them as entry signals instead. All right, so just one thing to note there. So I'll put it back on the double stochastics. Yeah, let's see. You know what? I didn't set my stochastic indicator up correctly. Yeah, so let me turn Raven off, make sure it's closed, and I'll go in here. Yeah, there we go. Should set my indicator lines to 30. All right, and interesting. Look, I see that there's a short signal when the stochastic crossed below 30 and crossed above for a long. So I actually, on one of my solvers here, yeah, I forgot to set the evaluate to long only. There we go. Okay, that's correct. So now there's no short signal when the stochastic crossed below 30. So you'll note I made that change in this Raven. However, if I look at my other chart, I'll see that change did not, that change didn't come across on these Ravens here. Right? These Ravens here are still have the old logic loaded into them. So if I want to update them, right, I should turn them off, make sure I'm flat, and then what I can do is I can go in here and reload the file. So let's reload that. And oh, bummer. Oh. All right, let's see. That's probably a data feed issue. Let's see. I think I'm pretty sure Raven's going to recover from that. Let me open up this other one here. All right, that one's open. And since I loaded a file into Raven, whether you load a new file into Raven or BloodHound, you always have to refresh the chart. And let's see. Oh. All right, well, I'll take a look at that after the workshop here. Okay, so let me refresh the chart. All right. Just to note, if you guys get errors that pop up like that, please send those in to us. We do want to try and fix those as quickly as we can. So send those in to us. If you do see errors like that, it's really helpful for us to get a screenshot of the chart, so we can see how you have things laid out, and more importantly, a screenshot of how you have Raven set up as well, so we can look at all these settings. Because what we need is all the information that we can get to recreate the same scenario that might have caused any kind of error or crash on your system. So all the information is very helpful to us. So that way we can find out what the cause is and get all these little bugs nipped in the butt. So all right. So anyways, so it looks like yeah, refreshing the chart kind of fixed that. So I think that was basically some kind of a data feed issue. So let's see, what was I illustrating? Oh, okay, yeah. So now that I reloaded that BloodHound file, we can see now, let's see, which Raven is it? Yeah. So this instance of Raven down here now has the correct signals here. So we get a short signal when the stochastic crosses down below 70, and we get a long signal when it crosses above 30. So we eliminated that short signal when it crossed below 30. Right. So once again, I'm illustrating that if you make a change in one place, you have to reload that file everywhere else in order for that change to take place. So that's kind of the the pros and cons of using the same or having the same BloodHound file open in multiple places on multiple charts. So okay, so one of the questions that came in is, how can you see your entry logic and your exit logic at the same time? All right, so Raven, right? I have Raven on here. Actually, let me do it on another chart here because I got basically my chart's not wide enough to show another BloodHound button on here. Kind of running out of room. So let me work on this chart here. Stretch it forward. Right. So typically you're going to have Raven, show you the entry signals. So how can you see where your exit signals are? So the way to do that is we're going to put BloodHound on the chart. All right, we got BloodHound, and let me load the template. So there's our template, and once again, I'm gonna select the exit template. Right. So when I select this exit template, when I look at this last and click OK, those are the signals that are going to show on the chart as soon as the chart updates. All right, so the next thing that I like to do is I like to change the colors so that I know, which are my entries and which are my exits. So I'm going to change the long. So remember, long signals will exit a short trade. So for short, let's see, I'm going to set this to gold. There we go, there's gold. So the gold is going to tell me that, that's my exits for a short trade. And I'll set the short signals, I'll set those to purple. So the purple tells me that those are exit signals for long trades. And alright, so I've got my colors changed. And there we go. So now I can see BloodHound down here, right? And it's showing me my exits there. So actually these exits don't work too well for the double stochastic trade signal. So let's change. So once again, if you're going to change Raven to trade a different system, obviously it's a good practice to make sure that you're flat first. And if you need to, you can close it out. but I can see actually Raven's still disabled here, so it hasn't been trading. So now I can set my, I'll change my entries to the 1455 crossover. I'll turn it on here, and alright, so now these entries and exits are making a little more sense. So we can see in Raven, here's our red short cell, right? This is our short entry signal, and the gold color is our exit. So that's going to actually exit that short trade. And then we have a long entry signals, and then next we have the purple exit to exit the long trade. So that's how you can see both your entries and your exits on the chart at the same time. So, and if you really want to get fancy with NinjaTrader, what I can do is I can open up BloodHound here, and I can put BloodHound on the same subpanel as Raven. So I have BloodHound selected. I can go to panel and put it on panel 4. And now you can see basically I put Raven and BloodHound on the same subpanel here. So now I can see my entries and exits at on the same subpanel, like so. So that's kind of a little NinjaTrader trick there that you can do. Okay, I don't think there's much more I can really kind of reveal here. So let me take a look at some of those questions I saw earlier and make sure I addressed the earlier ones. Yeah, so let's see. Max wants to use specific days, Mondays and Thursdays, from 9 to 10 o'clock. Right, so Max, basically what you'll have to do is go into your session manager here and basically create your own custom session manager, right? So use this to define your own custom session manager here, right? So NinjaTrader has documentation that can show you how to do that there. So I think NinjaTrader might even have a video on their YouTube channel that walks you through creating your own custom session template. So that's all you have to do there, Max, is just create your own custom one for Monday and Thursday. So and then of course load your custom session into the time session solver. So let me bring up BloodHound here. Yeah, so if I look at one of these time session solvers here, right, then once you create your custom session, all you have to do is just click on that and select it and use it. Alright, let me read the board, and I need to take another drink of water here. Alright, so Armando's asking, so NinjaTrader strategy cannot read BloodHound signals. It has to be through Raven. So correct. Yeah, so Armando, I guess just to give a simple explanation, BloodHound shows up in your indicator list, right? So BloodHound is in your list of indicators, and indicators cannot trade. Indicators only do, basically indicators just do mathematical formulas, to give you some kind of a visual, plot on your chart. And strategies cannot, or I'm sorry, indicators cannot trade. So the only way to build a auto trader in NinjaTrader, and this is true for all charting platforms, TradeStation, multi-charts, all charting platforms, use this, follow this same class of organizing, organizing stuff. So indicators, just provide, mathematical, indicator feedback on your chart. The strategy class, that's the only class that can actually trade or submit live market orders or submit backtest results. Yeah, so you have to use Raven to actually convert your BloodHound signals into actual trade information, into trade signals there. So, all right. Yeah, so Joseph was just kind of trying to get some clarification on one of the Raven settings here. Yeah, so all right, so Joseph's question is about the enter only when flat setting here. So when enter only when flat, when that is false, that allows Raven to reverse your position, right? So still, one thing to note about Raven is it will only enter a trade once in the same direction. Let's see, I don't actually have a real example, but but you can see on the chart this short signal here, right? So we got that short signal there, and if there was another short signal right afterwards, Raven would ignore it, because you can only Raven's only going to open one position in the same direction. So if I had a long signal, if I had a long signal and Raven entered long, like you can see the little arrow right here, Raven entered long, and then we can see the second long signal here. Raven would ignore the second long signal if it still had that long position open, right? So Raven would only take another long trade if the first long trade was closed out, right? So either your profit target has to get hit, or your stop loss has to get hit, or an exit logic needs to fire off and close that. So that long position has to be closed out, and then a second long trade can actually be taken place. All right, and so this enter only when flat. This really doesn't affect that, what I just gave an example. The enter only when flat, really, all it really effectively does is it just prevents Raven from reversing your trades. So, all right, Frank is asking, can Raven somehow be used in Market Analyzer? No, because the Market Analyzer does not have a way to load up strategies. And it really wouldn't make much sense to put a strategy in the Market Analyzer. Market Analyzer is really to give you kind of a grid type feedback for various indicator conditions. So you can't put BloodHound in the Market Analyzer. So if you want to run Raven without a chart, that's what the Strategies tab is for on the Control Center, right? So if you want to learn more about that, I would suggest go and watch Ninja's training video on strategies, and they kind of walk you through, what the Strategy tab is used for. But just as a quick example, I could put a new strategy on the Strategy tab here, and I can select Raven. And now this is not associated with any chart. This is just NinjaTrader running Raven, internally in the background without a chart. And of course, since this is not associated with chart, you can see there's a data series section here. So you have to tell NinjaTrader, what instrument and what chart type, you want to run Raven on, in the background, and you can do it that way. All right, so of course you still have to go through and load up your BloodHound file into Raven. You will have to select your entry logic and your exit logic, because since there's no chart, there's no option to select your pull down menu, since these buttons and pull down menus don't show up in the strategy tab here. You will have to lock Raven to trading one of your entry logics and your exit logic, so you won't be able to change this on the fly like you could on a chart. Terry's asking, is there a limit to how many BloodHound solvers logic per chart within BloodHound and Raven, and indicators per chart? Is there a limit with how many charts with BloodHound and Raven running at one time? Let's see. Or is it only limited to your trading computer's power? So, yeah, probably, realistically, I'm sure there is a limit to how many charts you can have open in NinjaTrader. There's probably some kind of resource limit. I've never heard of anybody reaching that. But really, what you're going to hit first is you're going to hit the limitations of your computer's processor power, your computer's processor speed. You're really going to hit that limitation first, I think, before you hit any kind of limitation as to how many charts and how many BloodHounds and how many Ravens you all have running at the same time. So that's really what's going to play into it. It's really this raw speed of your processor is what it really all comes down to, right? So adding more memory to a computer is not going to help NinjaTrader. It'll help Windows. It'll help Windows run more efficiently if you add more memory to your computer, which in turn will help NinjaTrader a little bit more, run a little more efficiently. But it's not really going to do much. It really comes down to the raw speed of your processor. Adding an SSD hard drive doesn't help NinjaTrader once it's up and running. The only thing it does do is NinjaTrader will open up and fire up faster with an SSD, but it doesn't help in its ability to calculate your indicators faster or anything. It only helps with starting Windows faster and opening NinjaTrader faster. So if you're really, the real investment you should make in your computer, if you want to have a bunch of charts and BloodHounds and indicators all running, the best investment on your computer is you want to buy the latest and fastest CPU processor from Intel. So Intel currently has the fastest math processor. So that's so Intel's going to have a slightly faster processor, processing power. All right, and see, Steph would like me to show how to build a market analyzer, or actually how to use BloodHound in the market analyzer. Let's see, what time is it? Yeah, you know what? I do already have some workshop videos that show how to do that, but I'll give you a quick demonstration here. So, Steph, I'll give you a quick demo, but if you want a more thorough video on using the market analyzer, you can go to YouTube and we'll just type in market analyzer. There you go. First one that pops up, using the market analyzer. And there's also, let's see, And then it looks like Daniel did a little demonstration of using the market analyzer as well. So this will give you a more thorough, but I'll just kind of show you quickly here what you want to do. So let me pull up the control center. Alright, so let's bring up a new market analyzer. Okay, there we go. Alright, so let's change our columns here. So
Order filled.
I'll get rid of those columns. And so what I want is I want to add a indicator column, right? Because BloodHound is an indicator, and we can see it defaulted to the ADL, which is right alphabetically. That's the first indicator on the list, and so we're going to change this our indicator to BloodHound. There we go, SI BloodHound. All right, so let me open this up a little bit. Okay, so now, right, you'll see basically all of the BloodHound settings, you know, that really are kind of pertain to the market analyzer are available here, right? So if you do need to modify the long and short thresholds, that's there. And it looks like we can even send an email from within the market analyzer. Interesting. If you do want to use this email option, you do have to go into your NinjaTrader tools and options and set up the email option inside of NinjaTrader correctly first before this email can be used. Right? So this email function is a function of NinjaTrader. Alright, so first thing we'll want to do is let's see, we'll load up today's template here. We'll just load that up quickly, and I'll use our stochastic double crossover because that seems to fire off a lot more signals, so maybe we'll actually see something. And I'll click OK. So anyways, okay, yeah, so here's something that's important. The only way to select which logic template is used in the market analyzer is when you first load your file. So, right, so the logic template that I have selected now, this is the logic template that will be used in the market analyzer. If you look at the market analyzer, you'll see that there is no pull down menu to select your logic template. Right, there is no pull down menu for that. So click OK. And if I really stretch this out a lot, let's see, if I look at the template name, right, so it tells me the BloodHound name, and then it has a colon, and then it tells me the logic template that is actually going to be used, you know, for this instance of BloodHound on here, right? You know, for this instance of BloodHound, because I could go in here and add another indicator column, and I could, once again, I could set this indicator column up to BloodHound as well. So you can get multiple BloodHounds, you know, running inside the strategy analyzer. You just have to keep adding another indicator column here. All right, and let's see, play alert. I don't know if that actually works in the market analyzer. I don't know if you can play sounds in the market analyzer. I don't know. You could ask Ninja if that actually would function, or you could just, you know, test it out. Of course, well, racing stripes, there are no racing stripes in the market analyzer, so that's just, you know, that's not going to do anything. So our indicator is set to BloodHound. Input series, right? So this is really a function of the market analyzer, but we could specify what information we want to feed into BloodHound. So if we wanted to, you know, change it from price, you know, if we wanted to do something weird, we could, you know, we could feed an indicator into BloodHound. That probably would not give you any kind of results you want, but, you know, that NinjaTrader does give you that option. So yeah, it's really not practical for BloodHound, but you know, it might be practical for other standard indicators.
Order pending.
Okay, so here's something that's important as well. So here's another option that is very important, the plot here. So if I use the confidence long plot, I'm only going to see long signals in the market analyzer, right? Because it's only going to show me that one plot there. If we look at the chart, right? If we look at the chart, all we can see is the red, the short, but the short output, right? The short signal, it's a separate plot from the long signals. Hopefully you guys remember that. I was able to change, you know, for the exits, I was able to change the shorts to a purple and the longs to a gold. So in the market analyzer, you'll want to see both long and short at the same time. So you can change this, and there is a market analyzer plot. So you can use this market analyzer plot here, and this one was specifically created for the market analyzer. And so this plot here will give you both a long and a short in one plot instead of two plots. And let's see, price type. Yeah, I guess we could feed whatever price type we want into the BloodHound indicator. So that's basically how you set it up. Set up BloodHound. You know, of course, there's other settings here. You'll have to determine what chart you want BloodHound to run on as your indicator. So you can change that. Let's see. So if we change this to a range, let's see, 4. So we're using a 4 range on this chart. And okay, the number of look-back bars. This you will most likely have to change. Really, the way you know how many look-back bars you need is it depends on the indicators you're using in BloodHound. So if you have an indicator that needs at least 100 bars of historical data to function correctly, then you need to put, I would suggest, put 105 bars. Put a few extra bars in there. But you're going to have to go through all the indicators in your BloodHound logic and determine, how many bars do those indicators need. And you find the indicator that needs the most number of bars, and that's the value you want to put in here. Is the highest value, is the highest number of bars that your indicator needs, that's the value that you want to put in there. Right, so I could go, what I can do is I could open up my BloodHound interface here, and for my stochastic double crossover, I can look at the settings for my stochastic, and I can see my stochastic has periods of 7 and 14. So that tells me this indicator needs at least 14 bars of data for the stochastic to be able to calculate itself correctly, and same here. So, this is a very simple example, but there are more sophisticated indicators out there that actually need, like 21 days of data. There's some indicators that require, 21 days of data. So you're going to have to roughly estimate how many bars are in 21 days of data. You're going to have to somehow figure that out, and however many bars are in 21 days of data, that's what you would put in here. If you needed 21 days of data, I have no idea how many bars that would be on a 4 range, but you might have to put something like 25,000, or maybe even higher. So, but for standard, typical, run-of-the-mill indicators, I would think that 500 bars is typically going to be enough. I think for the most part, 500 bars pretty much will cover most kind of indicators out there. So you know, even even if you're using like an SMA 400 period SMA, you know, 500 bars of data will calculate a 400 period SMA, something like that. So and let's see, once again this calculate on bar close option shows up, you know, everywhere. You know, so you can have it set to false or true. So I'm going to change it back to true. So that way BloodHound, so that way in theory, oh yeah, you know what, that brings up another point. Yeah, so this is something that Sean had discovered, our marketing guy. You will quite often get different results in the market analyzer versus what you have on the chart, and that's all because the number of bars of what is the number of bars in the market analyzer is different from the number of bars in your chart, and that actually has an influence on the indicators. So the indicators will sometimes calculate different results depending on how many bars are on the chart versus how many bars are in the market analyzer. So if you're not getting the same results, you know, if the market analyzer isn't showing you the same signals as you see on the chart, it's because the number of bars in the market analyzer doesn't match the number of bars on your chart. So so let's see, what else we have here. Label, you know, yeah, here you go. You can change the label. So I can change the label, and that'll change that changes the column name, the column header name on the market analyzer. So you'll see that in just a moment here. Let's see, maximum bars look back. Once again, being BloodHound, it's probably a good idea to set that to infinite. And I don't know, show and row total, probably leave that false. So all right. Anyways, let's let's see. I don't have any cell alerts. I'll leave that all off for now. The other video kind of shows you how to set up cell alerts, and plus Ninja Trader's training videos will show you how to set up the cell alerts there. So let's load that up, and yeah, I'll put the default in there. It's going to take a while to load up. Alright, I have a bunch of instruments that are outdated, so let me get those off of here. I guess it's time to update my instrument list here. Alright, so there we go. I've got only the continuous contracts are going to work here on the market analyzer. Right, so there you can see you know, BloodHound's output. So, you know, a +1 is going to be a long trade signal. Right, on a long trade signal, and let's see if it matches up with this here, and oh, let's see, let's change Raven to show us the double stochastic logic template, and hey, look at that, it's actually matching up. Okay, good. Yeah, it probably matches up because the stochastic, I don't think really is influenced. Yeah, it's not influenced by the when the chart starts. You know, on what day the chart starts. Eventually, the stochastic will match the same as long as there's enough data regardless of how many days of data is on your chart. So, yeah, so there we go. Now that 1 disappeared because the bar that's closed. So remember, I have the market analyzer set to calculate on bar close, and so it's actually looking at the bar that's closed. So previously, when we had a 1 here, this was the bar that was closed, and this was the bar that was open and building. So, yep. So there you go. That's kind of it in a nutshell there. All right, Steph. I guess just one note about the market analyzer. You notice how all of these are set to 1, because remember, in this other instance of BloodHound, I never loaded a logic template, or I didn't load a BloodHound template, and then I didn't load anything in the BloodHound. So that's why all those outputs are 1, because there's no BloodHound file loaded into it. So, okay, I guess we'll call it a day. That was quite a long training on Raven there. So I think that's going to be our video going forward for Raven. All right, guys. Have a great weekend. Enjoy the nice weather out there, and I hope to see you guys next Friday. All right. Take care. Bye-bye, guys.